The bazaar at the edge of the dune frontier was a place where laws went to die. The air shimmered with heat, the smell of oil and sand filling every breath, and the voices of 100 species tangled in the dust. Kale pushed through the crowd, his boots crunching against cracked stone as he scanned the market stalls for something only desperation could justify. He needed a weapon, not just any weapon, but one powerful enough to cut through alloy hulls and survive Dominion fire. His last raid had gone bad, his crew was dead, and the bounty on his head was large enough to make anyone consider betrayal. He stopped at a stall where broken relics and forbidden tech were displayed under tattered cloth. The merchant was tall and skeletal, his skin the color of pale ash, his neck ringed with bone ornaments that clattered when he spoke. Looking for something that kills clean, the alien rasped, his golden eyes glinting under the sun. Something that kills fast, Kale replied. And something that won't melt after one shot. Ah, the merchant said, running a claw over his chin. You want power. Real power. He turned and motioned for Kale to follow. The human hesitated, his hand brushing the sidearm at his belt, but curiosity won. They moved behind the stall, past a row of crates and canisters marked in a dozen languages. The smell changed, less of sweat and dust, more of cold metal and containment fluid. The merchant stopped beside a wooden crate reinforced with steel bands. Not a weapon of the old kind, he said softly. But she kills better than any blade. Kale frowned. She. The merchant grinned, showing jagged teeth. You'll see. He hit a switch on the crate. The lid lifted with a groan, and inside, chained and crouched, was a woman. She was blue-skinned, her muscles lean and coiled, her wrists bound by iron bands fused with alien runes. Around her head was a heavy spiked cage of rusted metal, humming faintly with inner light. Her eyes, gold, piercing, snapped open the moment the light hit her face. She glared at both of them, defiance burning even through exhaustion. What the hell is this? Kale asked. You said a weapon. She is one, the merchant hissed. Stronger than steel. Faster than any machine. She was found buried in a ruin 200 cycles old, still alive. That cage keeps her contained. Kale circled the crate warily. She's alive. Barely, the merchant said. But she doesn't die easy. She's fought, killed, burned, crushed, and every time, she wakes again. You want a weapon? Buy her. Just remember one thing. What's that? Never remove the cage. The alien's tone darkened. Not even for a moment. The woman's voice was hoarse, but steady. Don't listen to him, she said. He's afraid. Silence, the merchant snapped, striking the cage with a metal rod. Sparks jumped across the bars, and the woman winced, growling low in her throat. Kale's jaw tightened. Enough, he said. You shock her again, I walk. The alien paused, measuring him, then shrugged. Suit yourself. But if you want her, it'll cost you 10,000 dracs. 10. Kale barked. For that price, I could buy a starfighter. A starfighter won't protect you from what's hunting you, human. She will. How do you know what's hunting me? Everyone in this market knows, the alien said. You're the Terran who burned a Dominion outpost on Cress 4. You think their bounty hunters don't talk. Kale's hand drifted to his blaster. Careful. Oh, relax, the alien said, spreading his hands. You need her more than you want to admit. Kale stared at the woman in the crate. Despite the dirt and blood, there was something unsettling about her stillness, not fear, but calculation. What's your name? He asked. They call me what they fear, she said. But if you need one, Lyra will do. You understand me. I understand everything that bleeds. The merchant chuckled. Charming, isn't she? Kale ignored him. What's the cage for? Lyra's gaze flicked toward the alien. Ask him. It keeps her from remembering, the merchant said. When she remembers, things die. Kale weighed his options. He could walk away and take his chances, but he'd seen enough to know this wasn't a bluff. The energy radiating from her cage wasn't ornamental, it was containment-grade tech. Dominion work, ancient and forbidden. He reached for his credit stick and tossed it to the merchant. 5 up front, he said. 5 when I confirm she's not a corpse. The alien caught it, inspecting the code. Deal. Kale leaned over the crate, loosening the chains. Lyra's eyes followed every motion, cautious but not pleading. If you're lying about this cage, he said to the merchant, I'll make you wear one. Minutes later, Kale led her through the crowded bazaar. The other traders watched silently as the chained woman passed, some with fear, some with fascination. The heat shimmered, dust curling around their feet. You planning to drag me across the dunes? Lyra asked, her voice steady despite the weight of her restraints. Until I figure out what you are, Kale said. You bought me, she said, but you don't own me. Noted. Then why buy me? Because something about you scares him, Kale said. And anyone who scares someone like that might be worth keeping alive. They reached the edge of the market, where Kale's transport, a battered sandcrawler patched with salvage, waited under top. He opened the ramp and motioned her inside. Careful, he said. Deck plates are hot. She climbed in slowly, chains clinking, her movements graceful even underweight. Inside, the dim light revealed the ship's scars, scorch marks, patched wiring, ration crates stacked against bulkheads. This your fortress? She asked. It's what's left of it. You're a soldier. Was, he said. Now I'm just trying not to die stupidly. And you think I'll help with that? Maybe. He sat across from her, studying the cage. The metal pulsed faintly, the inner runes shifting like liquid fire. If I remove it, you won't, she said sharply. Because you believe him. Because I've seen what happens when it's gone. You remember. Pieces, she said. Flashes. Fire. Screaming. She touched the cage with her fingers. Then nothing. And the cage makes you forget. It makes me safe. Kale leaned back. For you or for everyone else? She didn't answer. The engine hummed as he powered up the crawler. The market shrank behind them, swallowed by dunes. Where are we going? She asked. North. There's a ridge where we can get clean scans of what's chasing me. Dominion. Probably. They don't stop. Neither do I. Hours passed under the relentless twin suns. The crawler rattled, wind howling outside. Lyra sat in silence, watching him work the controls. You don't talk much, he said finally. You bought silence with me. I didn't buy you, he said. I bought a weapon. And yet you haven't used me. Because I don't know how. She smirked faintly. You will. As dusk fell, they made camp beside a rusted antenna tower half buried in sand. Kale lit a small thermal lamp while Lyra sat across from him, the orange glow catching the rust on her cage. You could have left me there, she said quietly. Why didn't you? Because something about you doesn't fit, he said. That cage, it's Dominion tech, but older. They don't build things that look like that. They didn't, she said. They found it. Found it. In the deep vaults under the glass moons. I was already inside it. He studied her in the fading light. You're saying they didn't make you. They tried, she said softly. They failed. And the cage. Their attempt to contain what they couldn't understand. What are you, Lyra? She met his eyes, her expression unreadable. Once, I was a soldier. Like you. Then I remembered too much. The wind picked up, carrying distant thunder. Kale looked toward the horizon. Sandstorm. No, she said. Engines. He listened. Beneath the wind, a low mechanical growl echoed from the distance. Dominion, he asked. Or worse. You're full of reassurance. You paid for honesty, she said. He grabbed his rifle. Then be honest, what's in that cage? She smiled, slow and sharp. Everything they were afraid to kill. The first explosion hit the dunes a minute later, scattering fire across the night. The blast rocked the sandcrawler hard enough to lift it from the ground. Kale barely caught the side rail before the world turned upside down, sand, metal, and flame tumbling together in a roaring avalanche. When the dust cleared, the crawler was half buried in a dune, smoke curling from its vents. Lyra pulled herself from the wreckage, chains dragging behind her like serpents. Her head cage glowed faintly red, pulsing faster with every tremor in the air. Kale staggered upright, blood trickling down his cheek. "You said engines," he growled. "You didn't say bombers." "You didn't ask," she replied calmly, eyes scanning the horizon. Out beyond the dunes, shapes moved, 6, maybe 7 attack bikes, their engines roaring like beasts. The riders wore scavenger armor streaked with Dominion insignia, a patchwork of machine and bone. The lead bike carried a mounted plasma lance, already sparking. "Salvagers," Kale muttered. "No," Lyra said. "Hunters." She tilted her head, listening. "They smell the cage. They've been tracking me for weeks." "You sure it's not me they want?" "You're not worth the price they're asking." "Thanks." The first bike fired, a streak of white plasma searing the air where Kale had stood. He rolled down the dune, landing in a crouch, rifle up. Lyra moved with a strange, inhuman precision, every motion calculated, fluid, powerful even under chains. "You planning on helping?" he shouted. "You bought me," she said. "Tell me how to serve." "Stay alive." "That, I can do." She yanked the chain taut, wrapping it around her wrists. The collar flared brighter. For a second Kale thought she was burning, but no, the light was bending around her, distorting. The scavengers roared closer. Kale took aim and fired 3 shots in quick succession. 2 hit home, 1 tearing through a rider's shoulder. He fell, tumbling under the wheels of another bike. Lyra lunged forward, dragging the crate chain still fastened to her waist. She swung it once, and the entire length of metal sang through the air, striking a bike mid-turn. The vehicle exploded in a wash of blue fire. Kale froze for half a heartbeat. That was not human strength. "I thought you were contained," he yelled. "I am," she shouted back. "This is me contained." Another blast tore through the dune, throwing Kale backward. He slid, sand filling his mouth, heat stinging his skin. A shadow fell over him, one of the scavengers, blade raised high. Before the strike could fall, Lyra's hand closed around the attacker's wrist. The sound of bones snapping echoed through the night. She flung him aside, his body rolling limply down the slope. "You can thank me later," she said. "Remind me how to do that," Kale muttered, coughing. By the time the last 2 bikes circled for another pass, Kale had pulled the crawler's secondary cannon loose. He braced it on the dune and fired blind into the sandstorm. The weapon bucked, molten sand spraying outward like glass shards. When the air cleared, only silence remained, the dunes littered with burning wrecks. The wind hissed through the wreckage like a sigh. "You kill fast," Kale said. "Only when I'm awake," she replied. He looked at her, breathing hard. The cage's glow was fading again, returning to a dull orange. "What does that mean?" he asked. "When you're awake." "The cage keeps me dreaming," she said softly. "When it weakens, I remember what I am." "And that is?" "A weapon," she said simply. They climbed back to the crippled crawler. The front hull was cracked, the engine dead, and the comms antenna gone. Kale knelt beside the power cell, assessing the damage. "We're not getting far," he said. "Nearest outpost is 40 clicks east." "We walk," Lyra said. "In daylight." "You'll burn," she said. "You'll melt," he corrected. "We wait until nightfall." "And when they come again?" "They won't," she said, glancing at the smoldering horizon. "They saw what happens when they try." Kale sat against the wreck, pulling a flask from his pack. "So, Lyra," he said after a long silence. "You said the Dominion found you. What were you before that?" She hesitated. "Before the cage." "Yeah. I was made to lead their shock troops," she said. "The first of the fusion-born. They built us to end wars, and then feared we would start them. So they locked you up. They tried to erase us. But the cage didn't kill me. It erased your memory. And gave me dreams instead." "About what?" She looked at him, eyes distant. "About a man who came from the stars and freed me." Kale froze, half a breath caught in his throat. "That's oddly specific." "Dreams often are." And you think that's me? I think, she said, the cage remembers more than I do. The night deepened. The wreck's glow faded to embers, and the stars emerged like cold fires overhead. Lyra sat cross-legged in the sand, her chains coiled neatly beside her. Cale watched her for a while. Doesn't that thing hurt? He asked finally. The cage. Yeah. Only when I try to forget. Forget what? The truth, she said softly. That I wasn't born. Cale frowned. What does that mean? The Dominion built me from pieces of their dead and dreams of power. They called me their weapon, but they never realized what they'd made. I was a mirror. I became what they wanted me to be, until I wanted something else. Freedom. No, she said. Purpose. And did you find it? Not yet. She looked at him, her gaze sharp. But you might be the one who does. You've got the wrong man. Then why did you buy me? He didn't answer. The wind picked up again, soft and dry. Because you scared him, he said at last. The merchant. I saw his eyes when he looked at you. I've seen that look before, on soldiers facing something they don't understand. And you wanted to understand. I wanted to survive, he said. You don't carry something like that on instinct. Maybe not, he admitted. A faint hum interrupted them, mechanical, low, distant. Cale stiffened. Don't tell me, no, Lyra said. This isn't hunters. She tilted her head, listening. Something older. A thin beam of blue light swept across the dunes. Cale ducked behind a ridge. The light passed over them, and the collar on Lyra's neck answered, one brief flash of resonance. What the hell was that? Cale whispered. The cage, she said. It called back. To what? Before she could answer, the sand beneath them began to tremble. A low vibration rippled outward from the wreck, as if the planet itself had drawn breath. Then something rose from the dunes, vast, metallic, circular. A structure, long buried, revealing itself under shifting sand. Cale's jaw dropped. That's a ship. No, Lyra said quietly. That's a vault. A Dominion vault. Older, she whispered. Much older. Blue light spilled from the seams of the structure, illuminating the night. The hum deepened into a pulse, one Cale felt in his chest. It's responding to you, he said. No, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. It's recognizing me. The ground split open. The sand turned fluid, swirling toward the glowing structure. Lyra stood, chains dragging, the cage humming violently. Cale, she said softly. You need to leave. Not without you. You don't understand, she said. This isn't about me anymore. The light flared again, bathing the desert in blue fire. Cale shielded his eyes. What's happening? The vault, she said. It's waking up. Then shut it down. I can't, she said, her voice shaking now. It only listens to one command. Whose? She looked at him, golden eyes burning through the glow. The one who bought me. The dunes cracked open. Light poured upward, forming symbols in the air, patterns of code and memory. Cale stepped forward despite the searing wind. Then I'm giving it a new command, he said. You don't know the language, she warned. Maybe not, he said. But I know the meaning. He pressed a hand against the cage. The light exploded. For a moment, Cale felt his body split apart, not by pain but by light. The desert, the stars, the wind, everything dissolved into a storm of color. His heartbeat echoed in the void, each thud rippling through space like a drumbeat. When the light dimmed, he was standing somewhere else entirely, a chamber carved from metal and stone, vast and silent, glowing faintly with blue veins of energy running through its walls. Across from him, Lyra knelt in the center of a raised dais, her chains melted away, the head cage gone. Her hair drifted weightlessly as if underwater, her skin alive with soft luminescence. She looked up, eyes like two suns caught mid-collapse. You shouldn't have done that, she said, her voice reverberating oddly, echoing from every surface. Cale staggered toward her. I didn't have much of a choice. You gave it one, she said. And now it's listening. To me. To both of us. She stood slowly, and for the first time he saw what lay beneath the cage's restraint, circuitry etched into her veins like living script, glowing brighter with every heartbeat. What is this place? He asked. The vault, she said softly. The place where they built the first fusion-born. Where they built me. The walls pulsed in rhythm with her words. Strange glyphs bloomed across the surfaces, forming spirals of light. It's alive, Kale murmured. It's remembering, she corrected. When you touched the cage, you didn't open a door. You woke the system that made it. He rubbed his temple. So I just turned on a god. A dead one, she said. And gods don't stay dead forever. The air shimmered as figures began to form, silhouettes of Dominion scientists frozen in loops of memory. Voices murmured, distorted by time. Prototype 7 responding, containment stable, emotion algorithm corrupted. Kale stepped closer, watching one of the holographic phantoms reach toward a suspended capsule. Inside was a form, a blue shape curled in fetal stillness. Lyra's voice shook slightly. That was me. You remember it? I do now. The hologram flickered, showing the moment they sealed the cage around her head, the light inside flaring white. They called it a limiter, she whispered. Said it would protect others from my empathy fields. But it was a prison. Every thought, every feeling I ever had, crushed into silence. Kale clenched his fists. Why would anyone build something like you, then lock it away? Because they failed to understand what they created, she said. They wanted a weapon that could learn emotion, to make soldiers who could love obedience as much as they loved life. But emotions don't obey. She turned toward him, her eyes burning brighter. They gave me their pain, their rage, their fear. And I reflected it until it broke them. So they buried you. And forgot me. The chamber trembled. The holograms vanished, replaced by a vast circular door on the far wall, sealed by interlocking plates of metal. Lines of light spread outward from its center, pulsing faster. It's waking the others, Lyra said. Others? More like me. How many? Hundreds. Maybe thousands. And if they wake, they'll finish what the Dominion started. Kale's pulse quickened. Then we shut it down. We can't, she said. The system only obeys what it was programmed for, activation through neural command. Then give it one. I can't. I was the weapon, not the wielder. Then who can? She looked at him. You can. He blinked. Me. You touched the cage. It recognized you as master. That's ridiculous. It's code, she said. It doesn't care what's true. It only cares what fits. Then tell me how to fit better, he said. Because I'm not letting this thing bring an army of weapons online. She approached him slowly, her expression unreadable. You don't understand what that means, Kale. If you command the system, it links with you. Permanently. Your mind becomes the interface. Your will, the signal. Meaning. Meaning if you fail, it will rewrite you. Kale took a slow breath. You said before that you were built to mirror what people feel, right? Yes. Then maybe it's time you mirror me. You don't know what you're asking. Sure I do, he said. You wanted purpose. I need one too. Let's give it one. The door pulsed again, the hum now a low thunder. Symbols spiraled outward, arranging into concentric rings of light. Lyra stepped back. It's waiting for you. Kale approached the platform, the heat from the energy fields prickling his skin. What do I say? Anything that means what you believe. That's vague. That's faith, she said softly. He placed his hand against the center of the platform. The light surged up his arm, freezing his breath in his throat. His mind filled with voices, countless echoes of commands, screams, and dying stars. He saw every war fought in the Dominion's name, every life extinguished to make another empire rise. His knees buckled, but he held his ground. Kale! Lyra shouted. Don't lose yourself. Not planning to, he gritted out. The voices screamed louder. Obey. Serve. Destroy. He remembered the outpost he'd destroyed, the innocents caught in the fire, the guilt that followed him across galaxies. He remembered how easy it was to kill when you stopped feeling. No, he said, his voice shaking. Not this time. The light fought back, pressing into him. Obey. No serve. No destroy. Never again. The chamber exploded with blue fire. Energy poured from the platform into the walls, spreading outward in ripples of light. The door pulsed once, then stilled. Silence fell, thick, absolute. Lyra stepped forward slowly. You stopped it, she said. No, Kale said, his voice trembling. I changed it. Changed it how? It doesn't want to destroy anymore. Then what does it want? He looked up, eyes glowing faintly with blue light. It wants to remember what it means to live. She stared at him, the glow reflecting off her skin. You linked with it, she said. Didn't you? Looks that way. That's suicide. Not if I can control it. No one can control a god. Then I'll teach it how to be human. The walls flickered again. The door began to open slowly, its mechanisms grinding. Beyond it lay a vast expanse, an underground desert of light and machinery, with thousands of stasis pods glowing softly in the distance. Each pod held a shape, humanoid, motionless, waiting. They're dormant, Lyra whispered. For now. Then let's make sure they stay that way, Kale said. But the nearest pod began to glow brighter. Inside, a figure stirred, eyes opening, gold like Lyra's. Too late, she whispered. Kale stepped forward, the hum building again. The system whispered in his mind, softer this time, almost curious. New directive. He swallowed. Yeah, he said quietly. New directive. He turned to Lyra. You said they mirror emotion. Yes. Then they'll mirror mine. Kale, wait, he closed his eyes. No more war, he whispered. No more cages. The light from his body pulsed outward like a heartbeat. The sleeping figures stirred in unison, their eyes opening, blue and gold, burning softly in the dark. Lyra stared in disbelief. You've changed them. No, Kale said. We did. But deep beneath the chamber, something else stirred, an older resonance, red and cold. The vault trembled again, faint but certain. Kale, Lyra said, her voice barely audible. There's another layer below this one. How many? I don't know, she whispered. But whatever's down there isn't like me. The chamber lights flickered. The air grew heavy. Kale felt the system whisper again, its tone colder. Unrecognized anomaly detected. That can't be good, he muttered. What is it? Lyra stepped closer to him, her voice grim. The first prototype. The one they built before me. The floor cracked open. The floor split apart in a violent cascade of light and dust, throwing Kale and Lyra backward as molten sand rained around them. The vault roared like a living thing, its circuits screaming in resonance with something deep below. The crack widened until a dark void gaped open in the center of the chamber. Blue light gave way to crimson, heavy, alive, pulsating like the heartbeat of a buried god. Kale's boots slipped on the trembling platform as he grabbed Lyra's arm and pulled her to her feet. You said there was another one, he shouted. What the hell is that? She stared into the abyss, her expression pale and still. Prototype 0, she whispered. The one they couldn't destroy. A metallic roar erupted from the depths, so deep it felt like it came from inside their bones. The light around the chamber began to flicker between blue and red, each pulse shaking the walls harder. Lyra's body tensed, the light under her skin responding instinctively to the crimson surge. It's calling to me, she said, her voice tight. Then don't answer. Kale shouted. You don't understand, she gasped. It doesn't need permission, it remembers me. Then let it remember who you are now, he said, pulling her toward the exit. Not what it made you to be. But before they reached the door, a column of red energy erupted from the chasm, splitting the air with a shriek that made Kale's vision blur. The air thickened, gravity bending like liquid. A shape rose from the pit, enormous, mechanical, half-organic. A creature forged from Dominion steel and living code. Its face was smooth metal broken by cracks of glowing red light, its form human in outline but wrong in proportion, too tall, too thin, too alive. Its voice was a low vibration that turned the air solid. Designation 0 online. Kale stumbled backward, raising his rifle though he knew it was pointless. You said it was buried, he yelled. It was, Lyra said, stepping forward. Until you woke the system. Great, he muttered. My luck's flawless as usual. The creature tilted its head toward Lyra, scanning her. Derivative 7 detected. The sound wasn't speech so much as vibration in the bones. Containment compromised. Source consciousness infected with emotional data. What does that mean? Kale asked. Lyra's jaw tightened. It means it knows I've changed. Directive, purge corruption. The red glow brightened, and a blast of energy shot toward them. Kale dove aside, dragging Lyra down with him as the beam carved a molten trench through the floor. He rolled behind a fallen support column, coughing. Tell me you have a plan. It doesn't listen to reason, she said. It listens to power. Then we give it something to listen to. Kale, no, he said, standing. If I can speak to your system, maybe I can speak to this one too. It's not the same, she shouted. 0 doesn't mirror emotion. It consumes it. Kale took a step toward the edge, the red glow reflecting in his eyes. Then let's see how much it can eat. The creature turned toward him, sensors locking. Unidentified neural pattern. Foreign host detected. That's me, he said. And you're trespassing in my headspace. The connection between him and the vault system flared suddenly, blue tendrils of energy wrapping around his arms like lightning. His vision blurred again, and for a moment he saw both entities, Lyra's system, alive and bright as a sunrise, and Zero's, dark and infinite as the void. They were not separate. They were fragments of the same design. He felt its voice inside his skull. Emotion, weakness. Compassion, infection. Purpose, extinction. Kale grit his teeth. You've got it backward, he muttered. Compassion is what kept her alive. It's what keeps all of us alive. Error. Yeah, he said. That's what they said before they lost everything. He lifted his hands, focusing. The blue current surged outward, meeting the red halfway. The air tore itself apart in a blinding flash. Lyra screamed his name. When the light cleared, Kale stood between both forces, his body haloed in blue fire, veins glowing like molten circuits. The link between him and the system pulsed faster, threads of light connecting his mind to every glyph on the walls. Kale! Lyra shouted. Stop! It'll consume you. Maybe, he shouted back. But if I can change it, you'll die trying. Then at least it'll mean something. Zero's voice thundered again, shaking the walls. Emotion protocol detected. Origin trace, human. You bet, Kale growled. Purging now. The blast hit him like a planet. The world turned white again, and for an instant he was everywhere, on battlefields, in laboratories, in empty corridors filled with echoes of screams. He saw flashes of the Dominion's past, the war that birthed Lyra, the experiments that made her kind, the fear that consumed them when they realized what they'd done. And through it all, he felt the system's hunger, a bottomless drive to erase imperfection. He fell to his knees. The blue light flickered dangerously, threatening to extinguish. Lyra ran to him, grabbing his shoulders. Kale, listen to me. Can't, hold it, you can, she shouted. You taught me how. I'm not built for this. Neither was I, she said. Her hand pressed against his chest, where the blue light burned brightest. But you changed me, Kale. You made me remember what it means to live. Let me do the same for you. He looked at her, eyes burning like coals. How? Trust me. She placed her palm against his forehead. The air erupted in blue light. The connection between them deepened, the system responding instantly, two consciousnesses merging through raw will. The crimson energy faltered, its rhythm disrupted by the influx of something it didn't understand. Lyra's voice filled the silence, not spoken, but felt. Remember what you told me. Humanity isn't weakness. It's adaptation. Kale exhaled. Then adapt this. He rose slowly, every nerve screaming. The blue light flared outward, coiling into tendrils that lashed toward the red vortex. Zero recoiled, the walls of the vault groaning under the strain. The two energies collided again, and this time the blue held. Kale felt his thoughts bleed into the system, every memory, every regret, every fragment of humanity he'd buried. He showed it loss, love, failure, hope, things machines couldn't measure but couldn't ignore. For a second, the red light dimmed. The creature's voice faltered. Input corrupted. Emotion identified, empathy. That's right, Kale gasped. Now feel it. System overload. The entire vault began to tremble. Lyra pulled him close. You're killing it. No, he said, collapsing against her. I'm freeing it. The red glow imploded, collapsing inward in a silent wave. The walls fractured, energy bleeding out in spirals of color. The creature's body disintegrated, its voice fading into a whisper. Error resolved. Directive redefined. Then silence. Lyra held him as the last of the light faded. His breathing was shallow, but his eyes still glowed faintly blue. Kale, she whispered. Stay with me. I'm here, he said weakly. Still human, she asked. He smiled faintly. Debatable. The vault's hum quieted. The glyphs dimmed one by one until only a single line remained on the wall, a message burned in soft light. Directive synchronized. Preserve life. Lyra stared at it for a long time, then looked back at him. You did it. We did it, he murmured. Again. But before she could answer, the ground shook once more, not with fury, but with release. A crack opened in the ceiling, sunlight pouring through for the first time in centuries. Kale blinked up at it, exhaustion etched across his face. Looks like we're getting out after all. Lyra smiled, her golden eyes glowing softly. You sound disappointed. I was starting to like the decor. Liar. They walked together toward the light, the vault's hum fading behind them like a closing heartbeat. When they emerged onto the dunes, the desert was silent, the market gone, the horizon stretching endlessly. Above them, the twin suns were rising. It's over, Kale said. For now, Lyra replied. He looked at her, the faint blue glow still shimmering beneath her skin. What happens to you now? I don't know, she said. I wasn't built for peace. Neither was I, he said. Guess we'll have to learn together. The wind swept across the dunes, carrying with it a strange, almost musical hum, the vault's dying echo fading into the morning sky. But far beneath the sand, in the deep forgotten layers of the world, something stirred once more. A fragment of crimson light blinked, weak, waiting, remembering. The suns climbed higher over the dune frontier, their twin lights cutting through a haze of golden dust. Kale stood on a rocky rise overlooking the wasteland, the vault entrance far behind him, now just a scar of cooled glass half buried by shifting sand. Wind tugged at his torn jacket, stinging his skin with grit. He felt lighter than he had in years, and yet somewhere deep in his chest a faint pulse still echoed, soft and steady, like a distant second heartbeat. Lyra stood beside him, silent, the breeze stirring strands of her silver-blue hair. Her golden eyes reflected the sun's, her face unreadable. You hear it too, she said quietly. The hum. Kale nodded, his gaze fixed on the horizon. It's not over. No, she agreed. It never is. The wind shifted, carrying the faint scent of ozone and metal, the smell of what once was war. Zero's gone, he said. You felt it. The system wrote a new directive. Preserve life, she said softly. You changed the code. Maybe, he said. Or maybe it changed itself. That's what life does, she said. Adapts. He smiled faintly. Guess we've both got some adapting to do. They walked along the ridge until the dunes gave way to broken stone and the remnants of an old highway, long buried beneath centuries of sand. Shattered road markers jutted from the earth like bones. Kale traced a gloved hand along one of them, squinting at the faded markings. Terran script, he murmured. This used to be a colony road. Your people have long memories, Lyra said. And short wisdom. That's how we survive. You call this survival? She asked, looking out across the wasteland. We keep trying, he said. That counts for something. She studied him for a long moment. You shouldn't be alive, she said at last. Neither should you. You merged with the core, Kale. No human mind should hold that much code. And yet, he said, tapping his chest, still me. For how long? Long enough to make a difference. She didn't argue. The silence between them wasn't cold, just heavy, full of things neither could name. As the day bled into afternoon, they found shelter beneath a ridge of cracked basalt. Kale built a small fire from scavenged polymer shards that burned blue, their smoke curling into the air like threads of light. Lyra sat across from him, her chains long since discarded, her skin marked faintly with the same glowing script that had once covered the vault walls. You ever wonder what comes next? He asked. For us. For anything, he said. The war's over. The Dominion's gone. The vaults are sleeping. What's left to fight for? She looked into the fire. Peace isn't the absence of war, Kale. It's the memory of what it cost. He smiled faintly. That's poetic. I think I learned it from you. I don't talk like that. You do when you're dying. Touché. She shifted slightly, her voice lowering. You changed something in me, she said. Before, I only existed to follow, to obey. But now, I choose. Good, he said. Choice is where life begins. Then why does it hurt? He looked up, his expression softening. Because every real choice costs something. She studied him in the dim firelight. What did it cost you? He hesitated, then said quietly, my peace. And was it worth it? Ask me when it ends. Night came quickly. The stars over the dunes burned with cold precision, infinite and distant. Kale lay back against the stone, staring upward. The hum inside his chest was stronger now, steady, rhythmic. He could feel Lyra's presence beside him, her energy syncing faintly with his, the same frequency the vault once carried. You're glowing again, he murmured. So are you. You think it's dangerous. Everything alive is dangerous, she said. He laughed softly. That's comforting. It should be, she said. It means you still matter. They sat in silence for a while. Then, without warning, the ground shuddered. Not the violent quake of battle, but a deep, resonant pulse, like something vast turning in its sleep. Kale bolted upright. Tell me that was wind. No, Lyra said. That was beneath us. The hum in his chest quickened. He felt the blue light under his skin surge once, answering the vibration. It's the vault, he said. It's calling again. No, she whispered. Not the vault. Something deeper. The stars flickered. For a heartbeat, the sky itself seemed to distort, colors bending, edges blurring. Then, across the horizon, a faint red shimmer rose like a mirage. Zero. Kale asked. No, Lyra said, standing. Worse. A signal. Dominion frequency. That can't be possible. The system preserved everything. Every war. Every empire. Every failure. You rewrote one directive, Kale. But the network was bigger than that vault. You're saying there are more. There always were, she said. Dozens. Maybe hundreds. Sleeping under worlds that forgot their names. He exhaled slowly. So I didn't end the war. You changed its shape, she said. That's how it begins again. Then we stop it before it starts. How? The same way we stopped the last one, he said, standing. Together. Lyra looked at him, the faint light of the stars reflecting in her golden eyes. You realize you're trying to fight an idea, she said. An infection that calls itself purpose. Then we teach it a better one. She tilted her head. You sound like a preacher. I'm an engineer, he said. Preachers fix souls. I fix code. And me. You fix me. Her lips curved into the smallest hint of a smile. You're impossible. You say that like it's a bad thing. It's not. They broke camp at dawn, moving east across the dunes. The red shimmer on the horizon grew brighter with each step, pulsing faintly like a heartbeat. The air was warmer now, heavy with static. Kale's pulse matched its rhythm, two frequencies circling each other like predators. You feel it? Lyra asked. Yeah, he said quietly. It's looking for me. Because you changed the code. Because I became the code, he said. The vault didn't just link to me, Lyra. It made me part of it. Then you're the key. And the lock. They crested the ridge and saw what awaited them below, a vast crater of black glass, miles wide, filled with broken towers and half-buried machines glowing with dormant red light. At the center stood a single spire, its peak pulsing faintly like a heartbeat. Another vault, Kale said. No, Lyra said. The origin. The first one. How do you know? Because it's calling my name. The wind howled across the crater as they descended. Kale could feel the hum in his mind growing louder, the connection between him and the system straining. If this goes wrong, he said, I want you to leave. Not happening. Lyra, you didn't leave me, she said. You don't get to ask me to do less. Fair enough. They reached the spire's base. The red glow brightened as they approached, spreading up the tower in spirals. It's awake, she said. Then let's make it listen. Kale stepped forward, placing his hand against the surface. The red light flared, flooding the crater in a blinding wave. His voice was steady. Directive rewrite, protect life. The ground shook violently. Lyra shouted his name, but he didn't move. The air around him shimmered, red and blue intertwining like fire and ice. Kale. He turned, eyes burning with both lights now, human and machine merged. It heard me, he said, his voice calm but layered with something otherworldly. It's choosing. Choosing what? She whispered. Whether to obey. The light intensified until everything became pure color. The last thing Lyra saw before the world vanished was Kale's silhouette framed by blinding light, his hand still pressed to the tower, his voice whispering one final command, remember. When the light faded, the crater was silent. The red glow was gone. The spire stood cold and still beneath the rising suns. And in the distance, a faint blue signal flickered, steady, gentle, alive. Lyra stood alone on the ridge, the wind catching her hair. The hum in her chest was gone, replaced by quiet. She looked up at the sky, her voice barely a whisper. You did it, Kale. She turned east and began to walk, leaving footprints in the glass. Behind her, the world breathed for the first time in 1,000 years.